So I'm going to bring Nick Davis in. He's the Senior Client Success Manager at one of our good friends, ShareGain. So Nick, I'm going to take a breather, but welcome. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. I'm going to start by asking you to offer a brief introduction of your past experience and your current role at ShareGain.
Sure, thanks, Matt, and a great update. Thanks very much indeed for inviting me. So, as Matt rightly said, I'm Nick Davis. I am the Senior Customer Success Manager here at ShareGain. I've been in the industry for 30 years, lending mostly in the corporate space, but I'm now very excited to bring that experience over to the retail space and add continued excitement to the world of retail lending.
Excellent. So, for those on the call that might not be too familiar about ShareGain and those who may not know you, can you just tell us a little bit more about the institution that you work for?
Yeah, sure. So ShareGain is a global fintech, really, as I've kind of mentioned, transforming the world of retail lending. I fall under the agency lending side of the business, and that's supported by our platform SLAS, which is Securities Lending as a Service. The kind of clients that we speak to and we're speaking to on a daily basis are online brokers, wealth managers, private banks, and we're there really to unlock new supply for the lending market. I mean, if we look at how the market has been for many years, it's been quite stagnant. What I mean by that, it's really been dominated by the corporate space. The borrowers are asking for one thing constantly, and that's new supply, and new supply in small and mid-cap names. Now, our CEO and founder, Boaz Yari, found a solution to that, and that is in the retail space, because there were securities sitting there that could be utilized for securities lending, and overlaying that is that you could be making additional revenue on top of your initial investment. So therefore, what Boaz has done and what ShareGain has done, that we've taken retail from almost gradual evolution to, if you like, a full-scale revolution.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Now, being in the retail lending space, let's have a look at some of the Q3 2025 retail lending highlights. Now, as you heard me say earlier, Q3 was really a record-breaking quarter for securities lending. So, Nick, you and your team at ShareGain, you're really at the forefront of retail innovation in this space. So, what trends or standout moments have you observed in the retail securities lending market during the quarter?
Sure. So, in the retail space, when it comes to the kind of value that we've seen, and as you've mentioned, our main markets that we lend in are US, Europe and UK, and overlaying that, we also have excellent supply in ETFs, which again is a little different from the corporate space. We see a lot more investors on the retail side that hold ETFs, which has been a great book for us. And with regards to what we've seen in the market, has been very, very similar to what the market has seen. With the relaxed regulations, with the queue of IPOs now coming through, with the likes of CoreWeave, with the likes of StubHub as well, we've seen some good corporate action opportunities in the form of rights issues, so capital raising. And there, our underlying clients and their underlying customers have seen excellent revenue off the back of those kind of securities, overlaying that with, of course, your small and mid-cap names. So we're really generating passive income, driving engagement through retail, through the retail sector and the community as well. So we are always looking for customers to opt in. So part of my day today is really to speak to the online brokers and to explain to them the kind of securities which are adding value, and where their customers are a holder but haven't opted into the program yet, and then getting them to opt in. So, and it's really building in the retail space. The kind of clients that we have already are fully engaged, and the latest client, and we're very proud of it, the online broker Flatex DeGiro has now come into our program with brand new supply, which has never been seen before in securities lending. So for us, retail is only going one way, and that's just on the up.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, you gave us a brief introduction previously, but you've worked in both institutional and retail environments. So tell us a little bit about what's different about the retail side.
Yeah, so I guess the first thing is I don't have to wear a suit to the office. That's the first good thing about working in the in the fintech space. But also there's many things. I think first of all, on the client side, the clients that we have are new to the market, right? They've never done securities lending before. So education, which will be, I think, a bit of a running theme through today's chat, is around educating the clients, so the brokers, and for them to educate their underlying customers on securities lending. So we are focused not just on the online broker, but also focused on the impact that it has to the underlying customers. So for us, we focus on one thing, and that's securities lending. So that's all we're doing all day long. So education is key. The kind of supply that we have is so dynamic. As I've said, I've been in the business a long time, but the kind of inventory that ShareGain has and that our client base has is quite incredible. And there's new supply coming in every single day. It's not just you've got your supply, you see your purchase, the odd sale. I'm speaking to the clients on a daily basis, and then they're going out, and we're getting more purchases coming in from those customers thinking, wow, I can make passive income off the back of my initial investment. Why not do it? So that has been a real change for me. I think that the other thing is really a seamless experience. And we just want to make sure that we receive revenue in quickly and efficiently. So what we're trying to do and trying to achieve is to speak to the underlying client and then to speak to their customer to opt in and start accruing revenue from pretty much day one.
Okay, so that's all great. Can you tell me a little bit more about the technology that supports retail lending in general, and particularly the technology that you have at ShareGain that facilitates this?
Yeah, so our technology, it has to be flexible for a wide range of reasons. First of all, it's end-to-end system. It's it has to be diverse because of the client base that we have. And although that we focus on the retail space, we want to make sure that our system can support any client that wants to partner with ShareGain and come into the securities lending program. And that goes along with our asset base as well. So the kind of securities that we lend out, we want to make sure that however that market shifts, that we can be at the forefront and meet that change in the market. The other thing is the volume. So if you think about it, you have your online broker here, and then you have the customers underneath that. And the customers underneath could range from a few hundred to hundreds of thousands to millions. So we wanted to build technology where there was no ceiling, so that we could support ad infinitum, if you like, of underlying customers, that it wouldn't be a problem. And then overlaying that is that, as I've mentioned, we've got a diverse client base, so therefore we have bespoke reporting that we need to deliver to the online brokers, which gives them, complete transparency into their securities lending program.
Okay, so how do you aggregate and manage the fragmentation and the smaller volumes of inventories that generally come from retail accounts when you compare that to a more traditional agent lender with institutional supply?
Sure. So look, aggregation is key for really supporting the retail space, and our technology does this very well. So really, it aggregates. First of all, so when our trader has a look at the position, they're going to see, for example, there's 100,000 shares sitting it. They'll go ahead and book 100,000 shares. And then post-trade, the system then allocates on the way down. So it will then allocate to all those clients. And to your point, whether they hold a large size or a smaller size, so they get allocated. And it shows that even if you're a small holder, that small shape will get utilized in a securities lending transaction.
Okay, interesting. So when we talk about retail lending in general, what do you feel were some of the remaining hurdles for retail scaling further in the securities lending market?
So I think that the first hurdle is with regards to, well, it's not really a hurdle, it's more of a challenge which we're overcoming, but it's around getting more customers to opt in. So the education is key. We have a fantastic marketing team here at ShareGain, and their role, almost from the onboarding timeline, that they will communicate with the underlying client and say, look, how's the best way that we can promote securities lending, whether that's in your app, it's online, so that when a underlying customer goes in, they can literally see a headline banner, securities lending. They would click on that. They would see some very high level information of what securities lending is to give them an understanding. And if they want to go further, they would then, on a click of a button, opt into the lending program, and then you can start making revenue immediately. So I think that that's going to be ongoing. I think education is really key. The second thing is what I found, and it's almost like the ALD side on the corporate, is to get credit approval. We have clients, we've got small clients which are growing, and we have large clients which are also growing. But it's also getting the credit officers at the prime broker to approve this kind of new client base, which is making a huge splash in securities lending. So we do a couple of things. Again, we speak to the prime desk to explain what the portfolio is and the kind of the value add it can add to their business, when at the same time, we're also speaking to the credit officer to explain to them who the client is and the many levers that we can pull within securities lending to make them feel more comfortable. Whether that is adding maybe a lending limit to the client, whether and if the client can support it, maybe a parental guarantee. So we're working closely. Although they are hurdles, we're overcoming them, but I think it's a continued, again, education theme all round, because at the end of the day, with this great supply coming in, we don't want it to stop because of credit issues. We want this retail supply to come into the lending market to really help the primes at the end of the day meet their needs.
Okay, well, that makes sense. And I mean, that seems to be a challenge that even the most traditional agent lenders still face. But can you tell me a little bit more about your process for educating retail clients about securities lending and some of the risks or some of the benefits that are involved?
Sure. So as I kind of mentioned, our marketing team do a huge amount of work with the client directly and marketing in apps and so on and so forth. But I think also the other thing is that we get invited to many investor days at our underlying client, and they're quite powerful. It allows us to present securities lending, and it really gets them to get a better understanding with a Q&A on top of that. So I think that's kind of ongoing. In addition to that, it's when I'm speaking to the underlying clients on a daily basis, it's educating them on what the market is doing, how their underlying customers can see additional alpha if they opt in, both whether they opt in their small and mid-cap securities or whether it's explaining what a script trade is, for example. So we want to find the right revenue, and education, because as I mentioned, their clients are new, is at the forefront of both sides. The other thing is, as you mentioned, is risks. And again, it's very much the same as the corporate world. So for example, on voting is a great example. Again, if clients or underlying customers want to vote, by all means they can recall their holdings if it's out on loan, or 1 week or 2 weeks before, so that they can vote. That's one way to do it. Or for example, we can have lending limits in place. So as long as there's one share left in the box, that will allow them to go ahead and vote, excuse me. So we manage that, and we work with the clients again from the onboarding as we're setting everything up about what kind of strategy they would like to do. And again, it's a real, educating them along the second lending journey. I would also say counterparty risk is another. And again, in the same way, we speak to over 25 borrowers in the marketplace. So we have ShareGain has some great relationships with the borrowers. So we have the list. We work with the clients, and ultimately it's up to the client to make a decision as to which borrower they would like to face. But also we will have a look at the, for example, the online broker's portfolio and match that with the borrower and say, look, we actually, a good match would be these 3 or 4 or 5 borrowers to begin with. But ultimately they make the decision, but we obviously, help share some guidance there. So, so overall, it's having that and then the additional income over that. From an additional income perspective, we have some great things here. We have something called the opt-in hub. So that allows our underlying clients, so the online brokers can take a portfolio of clients that haven't opted in to the lending program. They can upload that into our opt-in hub and then immediately see the kind of revenue that they can generate at a client level, at a market level, and at a security level. So that's quite powerful. So that really gives, it helps them drive and be part of the whole journey. So that's one part of it. And really, that's what we're kind of focused on, and also on the corporate action side as well, working with clients in that space.
Yeah, well, data-driven decision making, that's what it's all about, Nick. Right, I've been trawling through the questions. This seems to be a very, very interesting topic for lots of our attendees and registrants today. I've picked out a couple of questions that I think might be more generic and interesting to the audience. I am going to share all of the questions that have come in with Nick, so collectively we will respond to you if we don't get time today. But let's start with this one that's coming from the audience. So what makes ShareGain different from a traditional agent lender?
So I think it definitely has to be our supply and what we have, especially in the smaller mid cap space, and the fact that our clients have online presence as well, showing what securities lending is, and what we're seeing. Actually, I'm kind of diverting away from this question a little bit, but I think it's important to mention is that what we're seeing is that. Because of the technology world we live in these days, is that underlying customers want to make as much revenue as they can from their underlying investment. So if all of a sudden you're making passive income from a securities lending transaction, and they may speak to their friends and say, hey, this is what I've made, their friend could say, well, hold on a second, I'm with another online broker and they don't do securities lending. Hold on, what am I missing out on here? Maybe I should be moving my investments over to the online broker that can do securities lending. And what I've seen, I deliver my quarterly updates to my clients, and what they have seen is an AUM increase because they have seen underlying customers move their investments over. So I think it's quite important because not only can they support all the investments that the client does today, but securities lending, for not doing much, can make them passive income. So I think that's really important to mention. So we're seeing that shift over, which again is great for the securities lending industry because again, we're adding more supply to the market. I think our technology is key. We are moving ahead with the times for securities lending. It's so dynamic and is changing so much. Our technology is at the forefront to move with those times, and AI plays a real heavy role in that. We have AI to a certain extent already baked into our technology to get real-time data and to create data quickly and efficiently for our underlying customers. As I've mentioned, we've got a diverse client base, which we're building all the time. And I think the other thing is our people. We have 120 people on a global basis. They're coming in with very different ideas into securities lending, how we take those ideas and make them live, not just for our underlying clients, but also for the market as well, to help make everything more efficient. So I think that, overall ShareGain is making lending a real reality for the retail sector. And if I may, I have actually seen one question coming in about the supply and how stable it is. And look, I mean, at the end of the day, unless you're a passively managed fund and you're you're not going to make any changes unless you're, if you're an index tracker, so unless the index changes, it's going to be pretty stable. For us, we keep buffers in place like any other agent lender. And, are there sales? Yes, there are. But there's also new supply coming in. So overall, we're just really like any other agent lender when it comes to sales in the marketplace, but we manage it extremely well. With regards to getting the securities back. So I think that's a key thing to mention. So even though we do have sales in the marketplace, especially in the small and mid-cap space that we have, which can obviously have less liquidity, we can manage to get this back on, in pretty much most of the cases on a T1 or T2 basis, depending on the kind of market you're looking at. Are there sales? Yes. But again, we're not seeing, huge, massive sales going on. We do see sporadic sales going on, happening from time to time.
Okay, brilliant. Look, I've just spotted one more that I'm going to ask you just to wrap up. I think this is a good closer for the session. What's your vision of the future in retail securities lending?
So I think for Sharegain, we would love every underlying investor to be doing securities lending. I think that would be great. I think that AI will continue to play a dominant role, and as long as that's controlled, I think that continuing to give power to our underlying clients as well. I mean, our clients do have a self-serve model, which I think is a real differentiator in the marketplace. So our customers can go in and make changes to their program. And as you build that trust element, because they're new to the program, what they're going to do is then start expanding their lending program and start, taking equities or taking pledge and so on and so forth. So it's continuing to give that empowerment as we move forward, as long as it's managed correctly. I think that's going to be a continued theme. I think education is going to be another. So, I think for Sharegain's perspective, we just want to continue to make retail lending a reality for our clients. And that's, I'm very excited what the future holds in the retail space, because I think for new supply coming in, that's only going to grow.
Well, that's great. Thanks for taking the time to join us today, Nick. That was all really interesting, really great insights into Sharegain. So I really appreciate you, and your participation. Thank you very much.
You.
So just before we close out, I just wanted to take the opportunity to promote our upcoming Securities Finance Forum that's taking place in New York on the 19th of November. If you are based in the US, then please come and join us for an insightful afternoon where we're going to be discussing the current dynamics of the securities lending markets. We're going to be analysing the drivers behind funding and financing demands, and we're going to be sharing our latest product and market updates as well. Please don't also miss the chance to network with industry peers, and also the opportunity to speak to our brilliant securities finance experts here at S&P Global Market Intelligence. Now, to register, take a screenshot of the web address on the registration page, or you can go to the S&P Global Market Intelligence website, hit the events button at the top of the page and scroll down to find the link where it will be present in chronological order. If you have any issues, then please reach out to your product specialist or myself after this webinar, and I will send you the link personally. But we do look forward to seeing as many of you there as possible. So look, we've covered a lot today. If you have any follow-up questions, please use the Q&A widget and we'll get back to you. For those watching the replay, please feel free to reach out via the request demo link in the related content widget. You can revisit today's material as we have recorded the session. Tomorrow, you're all going to receive an email with a link to access the replay at your convenience. And the slides are also going to be available in the related content widget at that point in time as well. When we close out this webinar, you will be routed to a survey. We'd love to hear your feedback, so please take a few moments to complete it. In closing, thanks again to Nick for your brilliant participation today, and to all of you for joining us today and taking the times out of your busy schedule. We very much look forward to speaking to you all again soon when we look to review the securities finance activity for, believe it or not, Q4 of 2025 in January. to find out whether 2025 was another banner year for the securities lending market. So on that note, that concludes today's webinar. Thank you very much.